all different, yet they're all cougars. More cougar than ever before. At the sign of the cat.
Tonight on WCTV, the mysteriously mid-mystery of the Sphinx. A 1978 educational program produced by the Cat Facts and WCTV Film Strip Division.
A common misconception surrounding the Sphinx breed is that they were owned by the pharaohs of ancient Egypt, explaining their hairless body as being a way for them to survive the grueling heat of the Egyptian desert. But this tall tale is embarrassingly false and makes no logical sense, even if you only knew the most basic function of an animal's fur. Sadly, however, this is far from the only problem with the narrative of the Sphinx. And we need to go back to the strange and shockingly hilarious origins of the Sphinx before we can go any further. While throughout history, there have been a few accounts of short-haired or hairless domestic cats, all these breeds died out decades before the creation of the skinheads many own in their homes today, as the modern Sphinx breed all stems from a domestic short-hair. In 1965, that short hair gave birth to a peculiar kitten with only fine peach fuzz covering her body. Its place of birth, you may ask? Toronto, Canada. Literally the least Middle Eastern country in the world. After this discovery, her owner named the kitten Prune and sent the kitten to a breeder in Holland to be inspected by the high elders, who ultimately decided it was financially a good idea to reproduce the genetic defect to be sold to the masses. Naturally, once you remove something from an animal it's evolved to have for hundreds of thousands of years, you're bound to have a few problems. The first well-known problem the Sphinx faces is with its skin. The notion that a hairless animal would fare better in a desert climate is a ridiculously ludicrous and grossly false notion even the most basic zoologist could dispel in an instant. An animal's fur protects it from the sun. In fact, the only naked animals without scales or tough skin we see in the wild are those who avoid the sun. The naked mole rat, for example, spends its time burrowing in the dirt. With no need for a coat of fur to protect them from the sun, they either never evolved to have any or lost it over time. Returning to the topic at hand, the Sphinx, like your father who forgot to wear sunscreen at the beach, burns easily. This especially becomes a problem when you realize cats love to lie down and bathe in the sun's rays for hours at a time. So, as a Sphinx owner, you must prevent them from lying in the sun's light for extended periods of time. The next issue is heat regulation. Without a protective coat of fur to regulate heat, the Sphinx is unprotected from the cold and the heat. Extended sun exposure will not only potentially burn their flesh and increase the chance of skin cancer, but will also quickly overheat them. And when they're not in the sun or in a warm room, they're freezing. This is why you'll often see Sphinx in little coats. It's an inferior method to keep them warm, a consequence of humanity playing God, which has made it integral for the Sphinx cat's survival. But don't think about the man-made horrors beyond your comprehension. Look at the cute little designs they have. Jokes aside, if these horrors are beyond your comprehension, my goal for this film was to make them comprehensible. And as one last message to the Sphinx breeders across the world, one day your knees will buckle under the weight of your endless sins. And I, for one, will not be there to save you. But at least you're not breeding pugs.
9 Lives presents Morris.
The castle's almost finished, Your Majesty.
Good. Reserve the dungeon for yourself.
Here's the enchanted tower.
This is her second childhood today.
Hungry, Morris?
Lower the drawbridge. I'm leaving.
Don't be finicky. There's 9 lives.
Hark, the sea winds bring a message.
Liver and chicken, savory stew.
9 Lives savory stew.
9 Lives, nutritious foods cats really like, even Morris.
Only fit for a king, 9 Lives.
Up next, the history of Wilcox